Welcome to the Daily Debrief, an in-depth look at one of today's top stories. I'm Jason Dinant, here with 13 Action News meteorologist and reporter Bree Guy. Now, Bree, your story today was in regards to the drought and an interesting study that just came out. Can you tell us a little bit more about that study and what it said?
Yeah, so today I was able to talk with one of the co-authors of that study, Dr. Nicholas Irwin, who is an economics professor at UNLV. And so he, along with two other researchers, put together this study on how working from home impacted our already dwindling water supply and how that would have impact and how that's going to impact us in the future, as we're not really certain, we're uncertain of what is to come with COVID and with this new variant, and with more organizations and companies moving toward a more hybrid or work from home kind of situation, even completely working from home. Then how can we help mitigate the issues that we were seeing in the study for the future? Because we already are under a federal water shortage declaration. And so we're just trying to, that's another factor that we have to take into account, especially as we continue to grow in population.
The interesting thing in this study for me, and with after seeing your package, I automatically thought, okay, if we're working from home, yes, we're going to be using more water from home. But you're actually saying that the study shows that not only did we see a net increase in water usage at home, there was still water usage commercially. So where some people may think that, okay, people weren't going to businesses, so that water would be down, house water would be up, it would kind of equal out. What the study found is that it's actually showing that overall water consumption did go up during the pandemic.
Yeah, so overall, yes, commercial water use did go down. So it's not all doom and gloom with working from home, but the study did show that the total or the net water use was still higher, because we were using more water at home. And when you're, at commercial buildings, if like you were talking about earlier, going to the bathroom or using water, washing your hands, a lot of that is recycled back into Lake Mead. Now, they do take into account both indoor and outdoor used water during this time. So when people were at home, they were using more outdoor water and also indoor water. And yes, the indoor water, we are eventually going to get that back, but the process isn't like quickly. And so what Dr. Irwin was telling me was that we may experience like quick water burst, but it's not as simple as like, yes, we are one of the forefront. We are a great example of how we are conserving our water across the country. We are at the forefront of that, but it's not so simple as soon as you flush the toilet, it goes back to Lake Mead. It's a longer process. And so altogether, we had a net increase in water usage, and we haven't quite seen that return yet, or all of that return from 2020.
When you spoke with the doctor, he also kind of told you about desalination and California's role in that. He said that there was a drought back in the 90s where desalination really did kind of take the forefront, but then it kind of got stepped back. What is the process with that? And do we see desalination really being a solution or a key factor in getting past this drought?
Yeah, definitely. So what he was explaining to me, and what I would love to explore further and do another story on, is desalination and how California started these processes back in the 90s, when they were already, California is not new to droughts. They were experiencing a drought in the 90s. They have experienced droughts since then, even before this one. And they started the desalination process. They, were working towards that. But then when they came out of the drought, they had an exceptionally wet couple of years. Then they kind of stopped and they sold off all those desalination projects. And so that's an interesting That's an interesting because, or that's interesting, sorry, because if they had continued with those desalinization projects, maybe where we are right now, or even where California was in the past, or where we were in the past over this 20-year long drought, maybe that would have helped kind of soften the blow, or maybe we could have been more advanced in our desalinization efforts, and that may have potentially helped, curb the drought impacts. And yes, desalinization is possible here. That's all about water transportation, though. And there's a lot of different things that people are throwing up in the air. I mean, meteorologists, I'm doing another story on cloud seeding and how that could potentially help too. So there's a lot of different things that we are looking to do. It's just interesting that we potentially, I don't know enough about it, but we potentially could have had some kind of a better foundation for that. And maybe California could have cut back on their share of Lake Mead or the Colorado River.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here in the Daily Debrief. For more on today's top story, visit ktnv.com and stay tuned after the break for more KTNV streaming Las Vegas news on your time.